Okay, let's unpack this. What if I told you one of the fastest growing global markets isn't, AI or fancy biotech, but something you probably have rattling around in a drawer?
Something essential for travel, right?
Exactly. Today, we're doing a deep dive into the global travel socket market. Seriously, we've got some fascinating data here from cognitive market research.
And it paints a really vivid picture.
It really does. It's a market you might not think twice about, but believe me, it's seeing incredible growth. Think of this as your shortcut to being, well, properly clued in on what's happening behind the scenes in our connected world.
Yeah, what's really interesting to me is how something so simple, a travel adapter, can tell us so much
About what?
about these bigger global shifts. Things like tourism, business travel, even how we work now. It's like a little barometer for human movement.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So our mission today is simple. Pull out the key insights from this detailed market analysis.
We're talking forecasts, right? Global, regional.
Yep, global, regional, even down to specific countries.
Yeah.
Charting the course from 2021 all the way up to 2033.
And the source has solid numbers. Revenue, growth rates.
Oh yeah, specific revenue figures, compound annual growth rates, DAGRs, and these aren't just abstract numbers, they show real momentum.
Right.
So the big questions are, what's actually driving this boom for something like a travel socket?
Yeah.
And, where in the world is it really taking off?
Good questions. Let's dig in.
Okay, let's start with the big picture. Globally, this market back in 2021 was already worth a pretty solid $1.74 billion.
Okay, decent size already.
Right. But here's the kicker. It's not just inching up. It's projected to nearly triple.
Triple. Wow.
Yeah, rocketing up to an estimated $4.64 billion by 2033.
Okay, that's impressive.
And that translates to a compound annual growth rate, that CAGR, of 8.54%.
8.54%. That's a really strong, steady climb year after year.
It is. Think about that. It's not just a little bump. It's serious expansion for what feels like such a niche item.
Well, growth like that consistently high, it doesn't just happen randomly.
No.
It's clearly being pushed by some powerful trends converging, like you mentioned, tourism.
Global tourism is definitely up.
Massively. More people exploring than ever before. And then there's the other huge factor, the whole work from anywhere thing.
Ah, yes, the digital nomad life, or just, more flexible working.
Exactly. Our office isn't just one place anymore. It could be a cafe in Lisbon, a hotel in Kyoto.
Right. And both those trends mean
They mean people need reliable gear. Compact, versatile travel accessories that just work. Keep everything powered up, keep us connected no matter where we land.
that's a really good point about the work from anywhere side. It's not just needing an outlet anymore.
No, it's multiple devices usually.
Right. Laptop, phone, maybe a tablet, earbuds,
Hmm.
sometimes all at once. And for work, not just a quick holiday charge.
It really pushes that travel socket from being just a handy gadget to a genuine necessity.
Totally. Okay, so that's the global view.
Yeah.
Let's zoom in a bit. What about specific regions? How does North America look?
North America's definitely showing significant strength. The market there was valued around $543 million in 2021,
Right.
and it's projected to grow to almost $1.4 billion by 2033, so nearly tripling there, too.
Wow. And within North America?
Well, the U.S. is the big player, no surprise there. It accounts for the largest chunk of revenue and shows really strong, consistent growth.
Makes sense.
But Canada and Mexico are also significant. They're showing pretty robust expansion themselves. It suggests, a healthy mix of both leisure travel and business travel driving demand across the continent.
Okay, interesting. Now let's hop across the pond. Europe, how does it stack up?
Europe's market is just as dynamic, actually. It's set to grow from about $474 million to over $1.3 billion by 2033.
So similar scale to North America.
Very similar overall value, yeah. But interestingly, Europe actually boasts a slightly higher CAGR than North America.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And what's noticeable is how widespread the growth is. You've got the big economies, Germany, the UK driving a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
But France, Italy, Spain also showing significant expansion. And even, smaller economies like Luxembourg are projected to nearly triple their market size.
That's fascinating. It really shows how embedded these things are becoming in European travel, doesn't it?
Absolutely. For holidays, for business trips between countries, it's becoming standard kit.
Okay, now, you mentioned strong growth. But if you're looking for the real rocket ship...
Ah, you mean Asia Pacific.
Exactly. This is where it gets seriously compelling. The growth there is the fastest of all regions.
Yeah, the numbers are pretty staggering.
Total revenues soaring from about $387 million in 2021.
which was already, quite a bit smaller than North America or Europe back then.
Right. But it's projected to hit an impressive 1.21 billion by 2033,
Wow.
which means a phenomenal CAGR of almost 10%.
10%. That's huge. And within APAC, there's a really interesting story.
Go-
Well, China's leading the overall market size, projected to nearly quadruple its revenue, which is massive in itself.
Okay, expected maybe.
But India is showing the highest individual country CAGR in the entire region, over 10.6%.
Over 10.6. That's incredible. What do you think that signals?
Well, it's not just more people traveling internationally. It could suggest something more fundamental changing,
Right.
like how people in these regions are connecting with global markets, maybe a rise in entrepreneurial travel, or a new wave of digital nomads within India itself.
Huh. Interesting.
It definitely points to rapid tech adoption, a growing middle class that's eager to travel and connect globally. And it's not just India either. Japan, South Korea, Australia, Singapore, they all show really robust numbers too. It's broad growth across APAC.
That is a powerful insight. It makes this data feel less like just numbers and more like a story about, economic shifts and how societies are evolving.
Exactly.
Okay, let's shift gears again. What about South America? What's the picture there?
South America's market is also clearly growing. It's on track to go from around $134 million to over $285 million by 2033.
So smaller overall, but still expanding.
Definitely expanding. Brazil is the dominant player there, showing significant growth. But you also see countries like Argentina, Colombia, Peru, Chile contributing. It reflects increasing travel within the region and more international connections too.
Right. And finally, what about the Middle East and Africa? Similar patterns.
We are seeing similar upward trends, yes. The Middle East market grew steadily, moving from roughly 95 million in 2021 to a projection of over 213 million by 2033.
And who's leading there?
Saudi Arabia shows the most growth, but Turkey and the UAE are also posting solid numbers. It reflects, increased business and tourism both into and out of the region. They're major global hubs, after all.
True. And Africa.
Africa is seeing positive movement, too. Total sales growing from about 102 million up to nearly 240 million predicted by 2033.
In key countries.
Nigeria and South Africa are particularly strong contributors there. It really indicates a growing demand for travel and, importantly, connectivity across the continent.
Okay, so let's try and pull this all together. What does it all mean?
Well, it means that this thing we probably don't think much about, the humble travel socket,
Yeah,
is actually part of this massive, rapidly expanding global market
exactly. Going from, what was it, 1.74 billion in 2021?
to a projected 4.64 billion by 2033, with that impressive 8.54% CAGR.
Right. And that trajectory isn't just a number on a spreadsheet.
No, it's a clear signal, isn't it, about how our lifestyles are changing, how much more mobile we're becoming globally.
Undeniably. Driven by, as we said, more tourism, that huge work-from-anywhere shift.
And just our general reliance on needing compact, reliable gear to keep us powered up on the move.
Yep. So if we sort of zoom out again, connect this to the bigger picture, it raises a really interesting question for you listening.
Okay.
Beyond just travel sockets, what other seemingly small, indispensable items might be having these kinds of unseen booms? Because of these same trends. Work, leisure, mobility.
Exactly. What else is quietly changing in how we connect, how we power our lives when we're abroad, or maybe even just working from a coffee shop down the street? Things the market data is screaming about, even if we don't notice them day to day.
That's a great thought to chew on, isn't it? Makes you think.
Mm-hmm.
But the next time you pack your suitcase, or maybe even just plug in your phone somewhere different, you might see that whole world of travel tech, travel accessories, in a completely new light. We really hope this deep dive gave you some food for thought.
Yeah, I hope it was useful.
And helps you continue your own journey of discovery, staying well informed. All right, welcome to the deep dive. Ever really stop to think about your travel adapter? Beyond just shoving it in your bag. Today, we're digging into the surprisingly complex world of these little connectors. We want to give you the key insights, basically the stuff you need to know.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? What looks like just a simple bit of plastic is actually, well, it reflects so much about global travel and tech. Our sources, mostly market research, point to some really clear drivers, but also some significant challenges and some pretty cool trends shaping things.
Okay, let's get into those drivers then. What's really pushing this market forward? I mean, obviously, more people are traveling internationally.
Right, that's the baseline. But it's also how we travel now. Think about it. It's not just a phone anymore. You've got your smartphone, maybe a tablet, laptop, camera, power bank, all needing juice, often at the same
A
time.
gadget explosion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then there's the whole remote work, digital nomad thing. Suddenly, having a reliable, multi-device global socket isn't a luxury. It's pretty critical when your office is a cafe in, say, Lisbon or Bangkok. You need that versatility.
That makes a lot of sense. And getting hold of them is easier too, right? Like the online side of things.
Oh, definitely. Platforms like Amazon, Flipkart, Alibaba, they've completely changed the game. You can order one like the day before you fly.
Super convenient for those last-minute scrambles. Okay, so that's the positive momentum. But it's not always straightforward, is it? What are the big snags, the restraints?
Mm.
I remember this one time I had a supposed universal adapter, but the outlets were recessed weirdly. Nightmare.
I hear you. That variability in power standards, plug types, it's still a real issue. Volts, frequencies, the actual pin shapes. Even with a universal adapter, sometimes things just don't quite connect. Or worse, you risk damaging your device.
And there's another risk too, isn't there? The dodgy ones.
Yeah, the counterfeits. That's a huge concern. These low-quality sockets, they often cut corners on safety. Things like surge protection, proper insulation. Basically the stuff that stops them overheating or short-circuiting. It really erodes trust.
That's genuinely scary.
Yeah.
So safety standards are important, but you mentioned they can also be a restraint.
It's a bit of a double-edged sword. Standards like CE in Europe, FCC in North America, BIS in India, they're essential for safety, absolutely. But
Yeah.
getting that certification takes time and money, so it can sometimes, slow down the launch of new, innovative products, a bit of a bottleneck.
Right, I see. And I guess for shorter trips or if you're just traveling domestically, you don't really need one of these fancy adapters anyway.
Exactly. That limits the market somewhat. If you're just going from, say, New York to California, your regular charger is fine.
Okay, so looking forward then, given all that, what are the exciting trends? What's next for the humble travel socket?
This is where it gets really interesting. We're seeing a big push towards integrating USB ports,
Yeah.
especially USB-C. So one adapter charges multiple gadgets directly.
Finally, less clutter.
Precisely. And they're getting smarter. Think. Adapters with built-in surge protection, sensors to prevent overheating. Some even have Bluetooth, connecting to an app on your phone so you can monitor power usage. It's becoming a sort of mini power management system.
Wow, okay. Smart adapters. What else?
Design is huge, too. They're getting much more compact, foldable, really lightweight. Retractable prongs are becoming common. It's all about ultra-portability.
Makes sense for carry-on only travel.
And the kind of holy grail is true multi-country compatibility in one single device. We're talking adapters that claim to work in like over 150 countries. The goal is really to have just one adapter for basically anywhere you might go. No more bags full of different plugs.
That'd be amazing. So who knew, right? The simple travel socket, it touches on global travel trends, our massive reliance on gadgets, safety regulations, online retail, and now all this innovation towards smart features and ultimate portability. It really is a small device telling a big global story.
It really is. And it makes you wonder, as this tech keeps getting smarter and more integrated, how might these accessories, these seemingly simple things, start to shape our actual travel experiences in ways we maybe haven't even thought about yet? What other expectations will change?
That's a great question to chew on. Definitely food for thought for your next trip. Well, we hope this deep dive gave you some valuable insights. Keep exploring, stay curious, and we'll catch you on the next one.